Good morning, Magic players. Welcome to the morning show where we discuss all things Magic. Get your questions fired up. Let's have a great discussion this morning. And also we do Decklist reviews, so if you got a 75 you'd like some feedback on, both myself and the community would love to take a look at it, give you that feedback. So brew up your cups of coffee and let's brew up some Magic this morning. Welcome to Coffee and MTG for June 11th, 2021. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, MTG Ectoplasm, Mareep, Ryan, Straw Boss, Matthew, Yan, Lucas, Fluffy Death, Alexis, Lord Magicus, Frederick, Walter, MTG Ectoplasm, Carl. Good morning, everybody. James, already here at the questions. Good morning, Nikachu. Love the vid on Urza Saga. Probably a stupid question, but can you counter spell target Urza Saga because it's an enchantment saga? Super type first and land second? No, it's a land. So land supersedes all this. They just play it as a land drop. Nothing was cast. Nothing was on the stack. Like when you play Urza Saga, it doesn't go on the stack. And it's only things that are on the stack that you can counterspell. Fashionably late today. That's right. As I am every day. You guys are just used to it at this point. Depends how early. I was up too late last night, so I needed the maximum. I don't know what I woke up and I just immediately made my breakfast and now I'm here. But I need this. I got the sleep. We got there, people. We got there. Despite Chubby Meatball waking me up. Good morning, Mobile Enthusiast. Good morning, Bra. Good morning, Luati. Yeah, we were, well, wouldn't say you guys are too early. I wonder what you guys see while you're waiting for the show to start. I wish there was like some sort of music playing in the background. That'd be neat. Okay, so, I mean, if you're new to the show and you want your questions answered, 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question helps me find your questions amongst all these comments I'm getting on all my YouTube channels and Facebook fan page. So D-Tie Gaming asked me, good morning, anyone doing pre-release today? I most certainly am not doing pre-release today. I used to do pre-releases, and then I'm like, I'm waking up too early for these things, and I'm bad at limited, and it really sucks losing to players I know that I'm way better than, but they are just, you know, they just happen to be better than me at limited, or there's enough variance that I can't beat them even if I am better than them at limited. So it's such a disheartening feeling. And I should just be buying the singles anyway. So, but that's just me. You know, if anyone else is interested in the pre-releases, go for it. I know it's a very festive thing. I like it when the store makes it like a party. You know, they're offering pizza and stuff like that. You know, some local game stores do it right. Damn is nuts, right? I mean, it is very good. Now, the problem with Damn, you got to play it in as an Orzhov deck. That's the catch. That's the catch, people. This is a great card that needs to go into an archetype that's not very popular. Because if you are playing a control deck, then you might as well be playing blue-white. So that's the problem with Damn. Now, of course, it's going to have its moments when, you know, Esper Control is very popular. So you got Wrath of God and also just a removal spell all in one. But that's the catch. This is a very, very good card. Very flexible. It's wonderful to have a card that you can... I wonder why they call it Overload. I guess feels like a kicker. No, it's not a kicker. It's a completely different casting cost. Right. Anyway, yeah, Damn is good. It's good stuff. Matthew asks, can Dark Confidant return to some prominence with all the new 1 and 2 drops from Modern Horizons 2, especially in Mardu colors? It doesn't really have anything to do with how many 1 drops or 2 drops are in the format. Like, the Luris metagame would suggest that it was primed for Dark Confidant. The problem is Dark Confidant has 1 toughness and deals damage to you and doesn't get any immediate value the moment you play it. You have to actually wait. You have to wait for the value and it deals damage to you. Not really what you want in a metagame with Burn and the Prowess decks. Not really what you're looking for. And there's so much efficient removal like Lava Dart. Anyway, that's the problem with Dark Confidant. I don't think it's doing great. Look at this card. This card went back down. This thing was like, I think 100. I think it was close to 200 at one point. Now it's receded back down 154. So I don't see Dark Confidant really coming back. Not yet. There needs to be like very little removal in the format. And you can't be under too much pressure for Dark Confidant to come back. Mystical Potato, are you going to whatever GPs will be called when things open up? I'll go to the modern one. I'll try to go to the very first modern one so long as it's in North America. I will try. I want to get to some GP. If I might go, I mean, if it's really close, and by close I mean Minneapolis, which is like 8.5 hours away, I might go to that one. Carl asks, what's the scariest version of the Asmo deck you've encountered so far? Probably a food deck, like sorry, not they're all food decks. The cat oven one is scary. It's hard to tell. I think I'd be more concerned about the cat oven one, but the Vengevine Hollow ones are certainly very explosive as well. But I've only experienced those two, the cat oven one and the Hollow one Vengevine version. We see a blank waiting screen and some pre-show chat. Interesting. Be great if there's background music. Do you think Tortured Existence would be good in Modern? I don't even know what it is. Enchantment for a black. Choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Not really. Well, I mean, you gotta tell me how the combo would work. I mean, it's mana efficient. I'll give you that. It's a black for the enchantment. Then you pay a black, and you exchange creatures. So maybe, yeah, maybe it's something. Is it on the reserve list? I don't see it. Zinek asks, what is the most underrated card from Modern Horizons 2 right now? Maybe the most underrated? Well, I mean, defined underrated. Let's look at, what was it, Nettle Cyst? I didn't hear any hype for this card. Like, none. Like, I didn't even make I didn't make a preview video. I didn't hear anyone talk about this card. But this card is in more decks than... I would expect if this was in any deck, it might be one. And I think this is now seeing play in 3 different decks. Like, it's seeing play in Affinity. It's seeing play in some Urza decks. I think it's seeing play in some Stoneforge decks. Stoneforge with a lot of other cards. But, like, I think this is the most underrated. This was, like, the most underrated card from, like, after the preview season. Because this just is seeing so much play, and I don't remember anyone making a peep about this card. Maybe some people saw it because they looked at, hey, +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment you control, and they thought, hey, this is just cranial plating, but with a creature attached to it. Even right now, I think Thrasta is pretty underrated. Thrasta at the moment, I don't know if maybe Thrasta is overrated, but now I think it's underrated. This card is seeing no play right now, 0. But I know it's powerful. I know this card is busted. This is a super powerful card. Oh yeah, the Affinity Bird Thoughtcast is good too. I knew that card was good though. Thought Monitor. I looked at Thought Monitor and said, oh my god, that thing is outrageous. Like, Thoughtcast on a 2/2 flyer? That for 1 mana? Well, I mean, you're probably going to get it for 1 mana. I thought this was really, really strong. It's definitely helped the Affinity deck. Anyway. Interesting question. Ugly Hood Rat asks, Modern versus Legacy format where cards can only be played in their respective formats. You mean like Legacy cannot borrow any cards from the Modern card frame? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Where cards can only be played in their respective formats. So like Modern cannot borrow anything. Well, Modern never did borrow anything from the past. So is this like you're trying to restrict Legacy up to the point where Modern becomes a set? Legacy has to win. There's just so many busted cards in that format. Hugh asked, did you see there is a Seb Mackinac Svelun playmat? It's dope. I've not seen it, but I believe it. I believe it. So some answers to the pre-release question. Lord Magic says, I like playing pre-releases just because it brings out a lot of people who don't normally show up regularly. Absolutely. You will get the very non-competitive players showing up to those pre-releases. And Dre says, I like pre-releases. They give me a chance to kind of wind down from competitive Magic and meet folks who otherwise don't do tournaments ever. Bingo. But it's those players I fear the most. Do you see Grief playable in Jund and Rock decks? Nope. No. Come on, people. Okay, look. How many times? Maybe this is why this card isn't seeing any play. Like, people are just playing with this card wrong. This is a 2-for-1. You're 2-for-1ing yourself if you play it in a Jund or a Rock deck. That's not good. That's not good. And if you're going to be down on cards, you need to make up for that by winning very quickly. So what deck could use this? A combo deck. A combo deck could use this. They might want to be able to save the mana that they would spend on a Thoughtseize or Inquisition and Thoughtseize you for nothing, and then use the mana to combo off very quickly. There's almost... I mean, outside of maybe some ephemerate nonsense, there's basically no mid-range deck that would play this properly, in my opinion. In my opinion, 2-for-1 is a big deal. It's a very big deal. I mean, like, yeah, that's all I can say about it. It's a very big deal. So I don't really see Grief. And Grief doesn't see any play right now. Although I heard Saffron Olive did make a 5-0 just recently with Grief, so we might see a 5-0 published soon. Thomas Penny says, yes, Esper Control has hard time making the mana work for Dam. Do they? I imagine if they wanted to, they could make it work. They could make it work. But they're the ones to do it. Straw Boss asks, what do you think the go-to Orzhov modern deck is? Stoneblade. Some Stoneblade deck. Team of Rhinos on the chopping block eventually. We'll see. Let's wait and see. Let's see how many top 8 and top 32s are dominated by these baleful Strix Rhino decks. So if anyone is not familiar, not baleful, I keep saying not baleful Strix, Shardless Agent. How the hell did I get these two mixed up? So if not, everyone's not familiar, one very popular deck in the format right now, Shardless Agent finding Crashing Footfalls. End power on turn 3. Create 2. And by the way, that power is also diversified amongst 3 creatures, and 8 of that power has trample. So you create 2 4/4 green Rhino creature tokens with trample. Very strong. I imagine this is making things very difficult for prowess decks. So you just put this giant roadblock. And the decks that aren't prowess decks, so you just have to deal with a ton of power on the battlefield. You play video games. Are you hyped for Elden Ring? I do play video games. I do not play Elden Ring, though. I'm not sure what the hell that is. I'm a little out of touch with, like, the MMOs and stuff. Like, I am a console gamer for the most part, or I'm a mobile gamer. Nintendo. Forever loyal to Nintendo, even though they fuck us over. Steve Manzo, how do you think Esper Sentinel fits into Death and Taxes, and what do you think it will replace? There is rumblings. There's rumblings that Death and Taxes needs to drop Leonin Arbiter. Now, first off, we don't know for sure if this really has to be in the Death and Taxes deck, but there was basically a blue-white Death and Taxes deck. Let's go look at the Death and Taxes deck that won a tournament recently. Why speculate on stuff when we know they won? This was Modern Challenge with Hardened Skills. Where's the other? There we go. So this was basically a Death and Taxes deck. It's like, well, I don't really want to call this Death and Taxes, but it's Death and Taxes minus the Leonin Arbiter, right? Does it have the Esper Sentinel? No Esper Sentinel. But basically all the other pieces. Does Esper Sentinel in the sideboard? No. So this, okay, so Esper Sentinel might not even make its way into Death and Taxes, but here we go. Here's a Yorion list with Charming Prince, Meddling Mage, Stoneforge Mystic, Thalia, Watcher for Tomorrow, Elite Spellbinder, Flicker Wisp, Skyclave Apparition, Spell Queller, Solitude. And Teferi Time Raveler. And Ephemerate. And Amiria's Call. But I would think it would go into a deck like this, minus the Leonin Arbiter. Now, we'd have to hear the final word from Spider Space, the ultimate Death and Taxes master, but Ross Miriam is relatively confident that Leonin Arbiter is basically not good enough for Modern anymore. So if you wanted to find space, I might replace that card. Otherwise, I don't think you need to play this in Death and Taxes. I don't really see it as a Death and Taxes card. I don't does Death and Taxes need this? Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X? Like, what are you going to do against all the other creature decks? I don't know. Anyway. Don't know if that answered your question very well, but hope that was good enough. MTG Ectoplasm. What is the most hype card that will not see play? Well, so far it seems to be Thrasta, and I might have hyped it up myself. I might have hyped that card up personally. And the other one might be Grief. Grief might be seeing some play because people are trying to jam it. Maybe we'll see what Saffron Olive's 5-0 build is like. But outside of Saffron Olive, no one's been having success with Grief. It's definitely... I don't know what to say. Your hand is like on par with the exile zone. It's not that important. The most important is the battlefield. Second most important zone is the graveyard. Third most important zone is your hand. So you can always top deck stuff. Then your hand doesn't matter anymore. Speaking of fragile X1s, what has your impression been of Dragon's Rage Channeler? Very powerful. Better than Delver, in my opinion. The only downside of this card is that it can't block. Well, once you have Delirium on. This is just a better Delver card, though. This is way better than Delver. They're like... I guess a lot of people are like, why won't Wizards of the Coast like give us tools for Delver? And then Wizards of the Coast responded, well, why don't we just give you a better Delver? So you have a 1-mana 1/1, which is within the Delver colors. I don't know a Delver deck that never played red. I guess I do, but you can splash the red. You're gonna do it. You're gonna make room. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to Surveil. That is amazing in a Delver deck. All right. So the deck is already trying to grab as much gas as they can from their cantrips, and this just makes it even more powerful because you get to Surveil first. You look at the top card of your library, you can put it in your graveyard if you want to, and then Delirium is, as long as there are 4 or more card types amongst cards in your graveyard, Dragon's Rage Channeler gets +2/+2, has flying, and attacks each combat if able. So, but the deal is, this is a Delver, which I think maybe it's a slightly harder to turn online, but not that much harder. But then it's always going to help find gas for the rest of the game. Every removal spell, every cantrip, you're just never going to flood out with this card. It's just impossible. It's just impossible to flood out with this card. Channel is absurd. In Legacy Blue-Red deck, it's almost a 3/3 that reads fix every draw step until it dies. Exactly what it is. It's just bananas. Anyway, so what do I think of this card? Very good. Premium. Maybe that was an underrated card. I mean, I think people saw some value in that card, but it wasn't until I saw it in play that I realized, holy shit, this thing, until it dies, I'm just constantly going to be up against gas. Very difficult to beat. Very difficult. Lofoten. When Wizard of the Coast prints strong older cards like Brainstorm into Historic, the format will start to feel like all the others. Are Wizards of the Coast really fine with this? Yes. So I've said this before. I'll say it again. Historic is going to be Legacy, although it might be non-reserve list Legacy. As it is right now, they have not printed a single reserve list card into Historic. Historic, in the long run, people think, oh, Historic is supposed to compete with Pioneer. No! No, Historic is going to be literal Legacy in the long run. They are just going to constantly put cards from Legacy into that format until it looks like Legacy, minus maybe some of the most busted things. They have some room to adapt. And of course, they won't print all the cards. And I think that's the idea. They don't need to program all the cards from Magic's entire history, just the ones that would see play. So that's the deal. And expect it. Anticipate that this is what Historic is going to be in the long run. It might take 10 years to get there, but, you know, that's how I see Historic. It is not going to be it's not going to look anything like Pioneer. It's going to look more and more close to like Extended, then Modern, then Legacy. Asmo is fine. We have Curse Totem now, and that turns off the deck completely, not to mention she dies to every removal spell in the format. Curse Totem does not turn off the deck completely. What about the Hollow One Vengevine deck? The only activated ability of creatures is just Asmorano, and that's it. There's no other one. I'm fine bringing Curse Totem in just for that, but I mean, I don't know if it's worth. I don't know if that's enough. Mango Hub says, "Hey, what underused tribal decks do you think could be good? Vampires, maybe Slivers. Slivers probably still needs a little help, but definitely Vampires, I think, is underused, and Zombies. Those decks have a lot of good things going for them, but no one like consistently playing the decks. Which cards in Modern Horizons 2 are getting the nomination for the Confounding Conundrum Memorial Reward? So far Thrasta, but you know what? If enough time goes by, it's going to be real. You know, I heard some people calling Lumimancer the Confounding Conundrum of the set. That's bullshit. That card actually did see play. It made top 8s, and now it has that new Rage Channeler card. So they have a complete deck now. And who knows, maybe Confounding Conundrum one day will still be broken. We just gotta wait. I knew this card is broken. I know this card is broken. Jakin, longtime lurker and fan. Well, welcome to the chat then. What decks do you think would rise to prominence when Urza Saga is banned? I guess the food decks. Well, I don't know if anything would rise to prominence. I think it would just be the metagame minus the affinity decks at the moment. I don't know if any of the artifact decks are suppressing anything at the moment. At least I don't know yet. What do you think of cards like Kira and Trickster in Mono Blue Merfolk? Trickster is fine. Kira also might be fine, but Kira is a little clunky and slow. Kira does not synergize with Svelun because Svelun is a... Svelun needs to check 2 other Merfolk that are on the board, not Kira, and also Kira competes with the slot of Svelun. So, but I think Kira is relatively well positioned right now, and the metagame's not too fast, but there is combo decks like, you know, the Shardless Agent into Crashing Footfalls, and also Shardless Agent into Living End, which Kira does very poorly against. Vaughn, with the popularity of Urza Saga, should I main deck Shattering Spree? No, you could main deck... Hold on, Shattering Spree doesn't even do anything. It's an enchantment. Urza Saga is an enchantment. Oops, I accidentally looked up Urza's Sage. Apparently that is the Deutsch version. Urza Saga is an enchantment, so your Shattering Spree does nothing. Has no power here. Sorry about that. I wouldn't main deck any enchantment removal, though. Blood Moon kills it. Blood Moon, Spreading Seas, Tide Shaper. Slice Off, what do you think of cards... Whoops, sorry. I answered this one already. Chris Ross, I feel like Thrasta is going to end up like Archmage's Charm. It's going to be low priced until later on. Maybe I think Archmage's Charm was suppressed though by the really hostile metagame of Hogak, whereas Thrasta should be the hostile metagame. It should be the hostile metagame. So anyway, I would think that Thrasta should be putting the pressure on people, but it's not. I don't feel like this is a card that's going to wait until it's well positioned. It should just be dangerous right now. We have to wait though. Cactus of Ishmok, what have been your results so far? 2x 4 1s, 3x 3 2s, 2 3 1 3 0 3 for me with mono blue and blue white shells. My results so far is I think 3 2, 3 2, 3 2, 4 1. I think another 4 1, and now 2 3. I have 1 2 3. I don't have anything worse than a 2 3 though. I guess we have something similar, right? We have something very similar. Oh, Vaughn, with the super chat, I meant to kill all the artifact. Oh, okay. Because not Urza's Saga is seeing play in more than just artifact decks. It's seeing play in like Amulet Titan. It's seeing play in like Blue-White Control. So there's actually a lot of non-artifact decks that are running Urza's Saga. I still don't think main deck artifact hate is just a waste. You're going to main deck your artifact hate, and then all of a sudden you're up against Living End. You're going to main deck artifact hate, and then you're up against Death Shadow. You're going to main deck artifact hate, and then you're up against Prowess, and you're going to look really silly. So it is not worth it at all. You'd be much better off trying to hit the land if you wanted to gun for Urza Saga, because not every Urza Saga deck is like an artifact deck. Just a heads up. Would baleful Strix come to Modern and be fair? I think so. I mean, they printed Ice Fang Quaddle, and I think that's pretty broken. Westru, any chance that with cards like Vindicate coming into Modern, Siege Rhino might make a comeback in Modern? Nope. I think the format is just too fast for Siege Rhino. And then if you think about Siege Rhino, is it better than Lurrus? Is your deck chunky enough that it's worth it to have those chunky cards instead of Lurrus or something like that? I think the days of Siege Rhino are long, long gone. That's how I see a Siege Rhino. Can Faithless Salvaging bring Phoenix back? I'm pretty sure someone played this against me. I mean, maybe. I think the card is pretty weak, though. Discard a guard, then redraw, rebound. So you get to play it on your next upkeep for free. Maybe get a Phoenix in play. I mean, turn 2 Faithless Salvaging. Turn 3, you get the rebound, Manamorpho, some random spell, boom, Phoenixes. I don't think it's really going to revitalize it because it's still a bit fair at 2 mana. We have a lot of ways of getting Phoenixes into the graveyard by turn 2. It's like the trick is how do you get multiple Phoenixes in play by turn 1? That's the trick. We don't have nearly as many tools, and they're not very good. Luca, is there any risk that Urza Saga make Wizard ban other cards for its sins, like Mox Opal with Urza and Modern Horizons 1? Don't make me go into my speech about how Mox Opal was it was worth being banned for years. Urza had nothing to do with it. But I don't think anything else is going to get banned for Urza Saga. Urza Saga will just get banned. Opal getting banned for Urza. Will Ragavan be good in Jund? Yes. And it might be very good in Death Shadow because you can get that turn 1 creature to deal damage to your opponent to get Scourge of the Skyclaves online. But I think Ragavan will be a good card in Jund. Ander, do you see a Delirium deck using Traverse and the new Channeler? Yeah, not necessarily Traverse. You don't need that, but you could. The new Channeler's already seen a lot of play. The Channeler's mostly seeing play in like Prowess for the most part right now. It's in the Boros Prowess deck. Over/under in years until people give up on Grief being good for fair decks? Half a year. Or maybe a fifth of a year. Thoughts on the OG artifact lines coming back, or do you think they created the new ones as fixed versions? I think they created the new ones as fixed versions. Yeah, I don't think they intend on bringing the OG artifact lines back. Maybe they are. Maybe this is a test. They're like looking, okay, these tapped ones are like pretty fine. Not doing anything busted. Maybe we'll bring back the OG ones. Maybe we'll bring back the OG ones. Do you think that modular land is better versus the graph land, or play both in scales? I'm not even going to answer that question. We're going to let the Modern Challenge winner answer that question. So this is a Hardened Scales deck that won first place. No wonder I'm playing against this deck so much. So we've got Llanowar Reborn, and his battlefield tapped, has Graft 1. And then we have Power Depot, so they play both. They play both. Hope that answers your question. If the challenge winner did it, you do it. I don't understand. 1 white or with Proscian equals ramp. I have no idea what the hell that is. That is the most random comment I've ever received. James, so you can cascade off suspend because the suspend says it has to be in your hand to suspend it? What? So you can cascade off suspend because the suspend says it has to be in your hand to suspend it? No. I don't think you understand. You can cast spells that would normally have to be suspended, if that's what you're asking. You can cascade off. Oh, hold on. Let's look at Shardless Agent. Are you saying, like, if a Shardless Agent got suspended? So what if Shardless Agent... When you cast this spell, it doesn't say you have to cast it from your hand. You exile an online card. You may cast it. So if somehow... Let's say you cast Suspend on Shardless Agent, and then Shardless Agent comes off Suspend. You still get the Cascade, as far as I read this. It's a very awkward question, though. It's asking if you can cascade. Well, well, okay. Can you cascade into suspend cards? The answer is yes. If the mana value is less than the casting cost of the card that cascades. So, like, a very popular choice is Crashing Footfalls at the moment, because it has a mana value of 0. So you can cascade into this card. But you cannot cascade into, say, something like, was it Riftbolt? Yeah, Riftbolt. So you can suspend this for 1, which is less than the casting cost of Shardless Agent, but that Shardless Agent doesn't look at the suspend cost. It looks at the casting cost. So the Shardless Agent will never find Riftbolt because it's 3 mana, which is the same as Shardless Agent's 3 mana. Just trying to figure where I left off. The Rent Seeker. Do you think that Asmo decks could go red for Goblin Engineer, Galvanic Blast, Shrapnel Blast, and Quicksmith Genius? Try not to get too fancy. When I see the card Shrapnel Blast, I'm like, okay, you're trying to get a little too fancy here. Your deck obviously is about synergy, not dealing giant chunks of damage with one card. So just be very careful when you engineer this deck. But, like, can it use Goblin Engineer? Absolutely. I don't even think we've hit the tip of the iceberg on what, like, Asmorano can do in Modern. There's probably a lot of different builds that could be built around her. Vermin Gorge are not even considered in Vampires? Never heard of it. Oh, I like this one. No, I think it should be considered. 2 mana 2/2 that has an ability that doesn't cost mana, and it sacrifices creatures, which I think is very relevant to Vampires. I think the card is great. Natty says main deck Fracture to deal with Urza, Saga, and Scion. Fracture. Oh, this thing. If you play black-white, this is very reasonable to play. Absolutely, you could play this thing. Yeah, it would hit the land. Go get that land. John Flagg with the super chat. Thank you so much. Could you go over and change this to your sideboard tech for Blue Merfolk? I don't have my deck list available here, but Do I have it available? Hold on, let's see if I can make it available very quickly. This is a crude operation I got here. Okay, yeah, I could go over it. Go over it on like the mana traders. Oops. Guess we have to do it like this. Okay, so this is my mono blue merfolk deck at the moment. Okay, so I'm running 4 Curse Cat. We're gonna see the okay, you can see the card in the bottom right corner. I'm running 4 Curse Catcher. Why? Simple. Shardless Agent decks, the Living End decks. I actually think Curse Catcher is relatively well positioned. Not to mention control decks are playing like Wrath of God and stuff like that. So I think Curse Catcher is can interact with a giant chunk of the metagame, and it's still a one drop. Tide Shaper, amazing card. This has helped me win so many games at this point because it is a Spreading Seas that can attack. So Tide Shaper is definitely easy replacement to Spreading Seas, and I don't even care about Spreading Seas anymore. Not even important. So we still use Silver Gill Adept, Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident. Only 3 Merfolk Trickster. Maybe I could up this number. Not in love with Merfolk Trickster, but honestly, if there's going to be these Living End decks, then I want to be able to pass the turn, hold up mana, have what's it called, Counterspell available in my sideboard, and hold up Counterspell, and then if my opponent does nothing, I at least have the option to play Merfolk Trickster at the end of their turn. A few Glasspool Mimics because it doubles as land and some blue mana, and copying Mirror Reejerey is great. Okay, so that I have 4 Sveilun in my deck and 4 Reejereys. Sveilun is the best card in the deck. It's just the best. It is just the best card in the deck, huh? Just Decklist review it. Well, I'm Decklist reviewing my own deck right now. So Sveilun is just hands down the absolute best card in the Merfolk deck. Stabilizes the board really well. A lot of decks cannot destroy it. Like, of course there are answers like Fatal Push, Path to Exile, Solitude, but it's no longer dying to just like a Bolt or a Bone Crusher Giant at end of turn. You know what I mean? So really good on really good at just being able to absorb a lot of removal. Also can be indestructible, but also just drawing an extra card every turn lets Merfolk just keep playing piles of gas, just like how every other deck was doing the same to us, because they just have so much card advantage now. So Sveilun definitely keeps us up on card advantage. And what I really like about this thing being at 3 mana is that you easily tick up the Vial to 3, you put the Reejerey in play, then you play some random creature, untap your Vial, put Sveilun in play, and then all of a sudden you dump a bunch of stuff on the battlefield. I have 4 Aether Vial for Force Negation. I think you need the Force Negation in this Living End metagame. Yeah, you just need it in the Living End metagame. Occasionally, you want to counter a Crashing Footfalls too. When would you swap Curse Catcher for Rashdian Port, or would you not want that? You know what? I think the Rashdian Mer Port is not that bad. I thought it was crap at first, and then when I started playtesting, when I started really using it as like a port card, it wasn't that bad. It actually was pretty good. I think if the metagame goes heavy on Tron, I might prefer that over Curse Catcher. If I would say this, you know what, the day Curse Catcher has nothing to counter is the day that I'd prefer to play with the port creature. So out of the gates, the port creature is just worse than Curse Catcher in this very specific metagame, but it can change if Curse Catcher becomes obsolete again, which it can very easily do. Manamo, you have to have Manamo in this deck because it can untap Sveilun, so you have like Pseudo Vigilance for Mutavault. So 2 Relics for the graveyard decks, 2 Mist Callers, because I think it interacts with the Hollowvine Asmorano decks, also interacts with Living End, also interacts with... Well, anyway, there's enough decks that I think it interacts with. I'm playing it over, say, Grafdigger's Cage. I think it's more worthwhile to have this creature. I almost put this in the main deck and bumped out some Curse Catchers. So, but I think it's still a little too narrow. 2 Suspend. What can I say? I think Suspend is good in Merfolk. I still need to see how well this is going to perform against Jund and Death Shadow. I haven't run into either of those decks yet. Those were decks traditionally I preferred to have, like Dismember or Petty Theft from Brazen Borrower. But suspend is working out pretty well, specifically because I can suspend my own creatures in response to removal, and then it comes back. Cursed Totem, amazing sideboard card. Finally, this hits all of our worst matchups, because like Merfolk struggles against creature-based decks, right? Just struggles so much versus creature-based decks, like goblins, elves, Heliod Company, Hardened Scales. This card just beats it up. I'm not a hypocrite. I was just wrong. Well, I said it wasn't good as a tempo card, but it's like okay as a tempo card in Merfolk. It's not seeing play in any deck except like basically Merfolk and maybe Spirits, but it's great at protecting your own creatures because they're not suspended for very long. Why no Oboro? No room. I want to have at least 10 islands. And maxed out on everything else. You could have Oboro. I put another Cavernous Souls because I've started seeing a bunch of blue-eye control. And then we got 4 Counterspell. I actually am not super thrilled with Counterspell right now. I could take out 2 and put 2 of something else in. Not sure what, but like, just not, like I think 2 Counterspell is good. 4 Counterspell might be overboard. I don't think I need 4 Counterspell in this deck. I think Force Negation is just better right now. Although if you can't afford Force Negation, because look at the price of this deck, it's just all Force Negation for the most part. You can just play Counterspell as a replacement. That'd be totally fine. Anyway, there's a quick deck tech. Are we getting close to a Manamorphose ban? Closer, but who knows when Wizards will take action. Is Dack Fayden too good for Modern? Probably is unplayable in Modern. It's probably unplayable. Is Modern too fast? I feel like a slower format means less variance / more chance for skill to shine. So that depends who you are. There's a lot of players that prefer the fast metagame. You know, like all the affinity players. They don't want a slow metagame. They want a fast metagame. They want to win as quickly as possible. They want as skillless of a format as possible. Just because it is skillful format does not make it fun for everyone. Skillful formats is not fun for everyone. That's something that's important for people to learn. When they banned Splinter Twin, and then subsequently banned what's it called? Eye of Ugin, the format was still like ships passing in the night format. Like it was just so many non-interactive decks trying to win as quickly as possible. But there was it was a really popular format at the time. Modern was so popular, people loved playing that format. It was frustrating for the people who wanted to leverage skill, but that doesn't mean it's like that's the most popular version of Modern. Is there any card more unhealthy for the format than Lurrus? Manamorphose, maybe? Maybe. Were there Vengevine decks before Modern Horizons 2, and were they good? You have not been playing Modern for too long, I can tell. You have revealed yourself. I'm gonna look up Vengevine's price. We're gonna look up Vengevine's price. Has Vengevine been good in Modern? The answer is in every single time the price skyrockets. Boom! And then like some cards get banned and the price has to go down. And then it's good again. And then the price goes down because the format is adjusted. And then it's busted again. And then cards get banned or adjusted. And then boom! And then Hogak. And then, oh, don't forget, Vengevine's still in the format. Or is this? No, though, this is Hogak. Okay, so this is Bridgevine at its highest. And then this is Hogak. And then they banned Hogak. We haven't seen Vengevine for a while, but I told people, we've seen this graph many times on Coffee and MTG, the Vengevine graph. We've seen the Vengevine graph, and I told people it will go back up. This is like the greatest card to spec on. This is the greatest pump and dump card of Modern. You just know it's gonna go back. You know it's gonna go back. You just need that enabler, and boom, we're back to the enabler. I'm curious how there's got to be someone out there that is like just making bank off of buying and selling Vengevine for a living. Like when it gets to its low, they're just like, all right, let's buy 1,000 of these. Okay, let's sell. So, time to make profit. Yeah, Hogak was anyway. So has Vengevine seen play? Oh yes, is absolutely seen play many times, and it's back. It's back, people. Makes me wonder, if you look at this graph, it makes me wonder if Vengevine is like the card that should be banned. Like this, obviously, it needs some enabler, or does the enabler need Vengevine? That's the philosophical question we've got to ask ourselves. Does Vengevine need enablers, or does the enablers need Vengevine? Which card was responsible for more free wins, Vengevine or some big mana bullshit? Yeah, that's the question we should ask. Well, probably both. All right, people. It's time. Deck list review time. So if you want to submit a deck list to the channel, you want to get reviewed by myself and the community, go into my description. In the description, there is a link to my Discord. Join the Discord, then go to the channel, deck list review, and... Oh, I don't have my Discord open. Go to the channel, deck list review, and use the command, !review deck, space, put the URL of your deck list there, press enter, and you'll be eligible at random to be chosen for deck list review. By the way, I will clear the queue after today, so get your deck list ready after the show to be resubmitted again if you want it submitted for next week. I'm just clearing the queue once a week, and it's at the end of Friday, and today is Friday. And by the end of Friday, I mean like after the show. Oops, what have I done? Bring that thing back here. Yes, love these jams. I noticed that if I play the Nintendo music during deck list review, like normally when I go to deck list review, you all leave. Not all of you, but like half of you leave. But then when I play the video game music, you stay. That's great. See, I know the tricks. I know all the tricks. Feel there's a combo between Vengevine and Thrasta? Maybe. Maybe. Just got to make it work somehow. Jeez, that would be crazy. I heard the man making bank off Vengevine is some guy called Rudy. I think he doesn't like to invest in Vengevine. Because it's going to get printed to oblivion. And some of you love watching the deck list review. Some of you are looking for new deck lists to play. I'm curious how many people actually grab the deck list from this channel. Like, hey, that's a cool thing. I'm going to build that thing. All right. But you know what fuels this channel? I mean, aside from all of you with your donations and your support, sponsors like FusionGamingOnline.com. Deal of the week this week is 15% off Zendikar Rising singles and sealed product. I have no idea what's in the set. Skyclave Apparition, I guess, and Omnath. Those are good ones. Agadim's Awakening. If you want to get a discount on those cards, now is the time. 50% off. And by the way, if that deal isn't good enough for you, because for some reason you're like, you want an even better deal than that, hey, you can get 5% more off using coupon code Nikachu. Also supports the channel. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. Good luck finding Urza's Saga. I heard that one's a bit tough right now. Even Mana Traders is pretty low on that card. But aside from that, you can play any deck, any format, anytime. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu. Good luck, Cameron. Let's see if you get picked. All right. There's 106 lists in the queue. That's amazing. Good luck, everyone. Cardinal. Congratulations. You are the next contestant on deck list review. What do we got here? A grief deck. Good grief. Black, white, good grief. Giver of Runes. Dothy, Voidwalker, Stoneforge Mystic. Easily, you got to play 4 Stoneforge Mystics. You can't be playing these cards and be like 3 Stoneforge Mystics. Stoneforge Mystic is more important than any other card in this deck, in my opinion. So I would take out a Voidwalker for Stoneforge, or anything. You got it. You have to have a 4th Stoneforge in here. There's no point playing these equipment when you can't tutor for them. 4 Grief, Restoration Angel. I actually like that card. That's a pretty good card. Shriekmaw. Ooh, actually, this is a pretty sick card to ephemerate, to be honest. Not gonna lie. This is a good one. Are any of the Grief decks playing this card? This is a great idea. I like, actually, this one. Because at 3 mana, you can, like, kill a creature and then kill another creature. Like, this is a better this is a combo that's been in the format for 2 years. I think this is a better combo than Grief, where you like strip 3 cards out of your opponent's hand. Like, this strips not just 3 creatures on the battlefield, but also it's like massive tempo loss because they have to spend so much mana on those creatures. This is so good. And I mean, it can just be a removal spell for 2 mana anyway. In my opinion, you should go all in on Shriekmaw instead of Grief. I know the idea is Grief is just so damn fancy. People are just obsessed with this 3-for-1ing someone in their hand. Or 3-for-1. Why not Solitude over Shriekmaw? Because you can blink. I think you can blink this better. Or maybe not. That's a good point. I like Shriekmaw, but maybe Solitude is just better. Do you have enough white cards to exile? Maybe the number of white cards are like... We're low on white cards. What is this? 4, 7, 11. And then with Solitude, you'd be at 15. You're actually low on white cards, so Solitude might not work. But I mean, you could make it work. You could try to get rid of Raven's Crime or something like that. Actually, I don't even like Raven's Crime in this deck. I don't understand this one. So if there's a card I'm going to pick away, I would add an Inquisition. I would take out a Raven's Crime. This is just... Like, you're not winning via your opponent having no hand. Thoughtseize is fine. Undying Evil. Target creature gains Undying until end of turn. That's fine. Anyway, so we're going to get rid of... We're going to dump the Raven's Crime. Let's add maybe some Solitudes. We'll definitely add 1 Stoneforge Mystic. That'll help your white creature count. Maybe add another Restoration Angel and 2 Solitudes. And then Solitude will be online, and you can ephemerate that, and you can exile 3 creatures? Yes, 3 creatures. And I think hitting the battlefield is more powerful than hitting people's hands. I know that's why you're playing Grief, but it should be good Solitude. Not to mention, it's a lifelink flyer, so that's not bad either. And it's a good Restoration Angel target. 22 lands? It might be a little bit on the low side for the curve so high on this deck, but I think it's okay. You are a Stoneforge deck anyway. Skyclave Apparition? Maybe in the sideboard. An attempt at an Ephemerate Griefless, looking for a replacement for Shriekmaw and debating replacing Raven's Crime for Vindicate. That's okay. That's an okay idea. Idea is to Grief Ephemerate turn 1 into Dothy Voidwalker or Stoneforge Mystic turn 2 to steal opponent's creatures or start beating down respectively. Currently missing a sideboard, so any suggestions there would be great, or I'll just end up defaulting to a basic one. This is my first black-white list, so advice from Pox or black-white controlled players is very much appreciated. Kaldra is not as good as Batterskull? That might be true. I've seen people starting to play this, though. It might be better than Sword of Fire and Ice, though. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Malakir Rebirth? Target creature, you lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains. When this creature dies, returns to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. That's a neat one. Maybe that should be a few copies of Undying Evil, because it could be lands. I like that, actually. I like that better than the Undying Evil. So play Malakir Rebirth because it doubles as a land, and it can help you curve out. Let me read this. Choose target creature, you lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains. When this creature dies, return. Yeah, it's good. I like it. Vindicate Vanishing versus a 1-of. I mean, these cards could also go into the sideboard. For sure, like, Raven's Crime should be replaced by something, so maybe some number of Raven's Crimes could be that. I don't hate Shriekmaw. Or maybe Shriekmaw is just a worse version of Solitude. Maybe. But it doesn't cost that... Like, casting this for 2 mana and not losing any cards in your hand is very appealing to me. And you can still ephemerate it. I mean, I think it's a decent play. Turn 1... Giver, turn 2 Stoneforge or Dothy Voidwalker, then turn 3 like Shriekmaw and Ephemerate your Shriekmaw. I think that's gas. I think that's pretty gas. I think it's fine, but Batterskull first, then you have room for Cauldron. Okay, how about put Sword of Fire and Ice in the sideboard or something, or maybe put Maul of the Sky. Well, you gotta kick out one of these things. I'm sure this is the flashy, nice new card. Tidehello for both Grief and Solitude. A little too much card. There's like not much room to like move anything. I mean, Raven's Crime is a flex slot. I'm not really a big fan of Tidehello anyway. Like, if you're making a deck just completely dependent on Ephemerate, it might fall apart. Oops. Okay, so let's say we replace Sword of Fire and Ice with Batterskull. I'm going to keep the Cauldron complete. What is our sideboard? Vindicate. We can have some Vindicate. Play some Stony Silence. A bit of a nombo with Batterskull, but probably not that big of a deal. You can play Stony Silence for the artifact decks. Path? I guess we could play some Path to Exile. But probably what works better is Skyclave Apparition. Maybe we can play Fracture. Some Rest in Peace. You can ignore Cauldron in some cases because it's not gaining life or Vigilant. Definitely recommend Batterskull. Okay. So it sounds like people are just saying get rid of the Cauldron. You know, it's a fancy card. Just remove it for Batterskull. Batterskull's still good. Yeah, definitely Rest in Peace. I think that'll be good for a sideboard. I think we did good here. We did good, people. Good luck with the list. Thanks for submitting it, Cardinal. All right, next up, Uber Jam. Yeah, it's been a while, Uber Jam. Rug Living End. This should be interesting. Brazen Borrower, Curator of Mysteries. I have to say, I really like Mox. I think Mox Field is my favorite site for decklist review. This is probably the best site for decklist review. So we've got Brazen Borrower, Curator of Mysteries, Desert, Ceradon, Shardless Agent, Street Wraith, Stripped, Rindwide, Striped, Riverwinder, Waker of Waves, Windcaller, Aven, 3 Living End, 4 Force Negation, 4 Violent Outburst. I think you should have both Bonecrusher, Giant, and Brazen Borrower in the main deck. It's got to be better than some of these. Like, what's up with this? Creatures you control get -1, -0. Discard this. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Like, I don't think you need many of these. So you have 3 Brazen Borrower. I would up it to... What is... Your deck seems fine. But I'm just curious now. What are, like, the decks doing these days? Where's here? There's, like, a lot of Living End winning right now. I think these are all Living End decks. Oh, you know what? They're not playing Bonecrusher Giant. I thought they had Bonecrusher Giant in the main. Okay, I'm totally wrong here. So we have 1 Waker of Waves. Do any of them play Bonecrusher Giant? Because you can play it. I mean, there's a limit to how many like non-cycle cards you can play, I'm sure. Okay, they're all the same. They're all the same. You gotta tell me why you would play 1 less Brazen Borrower when they play all the Brazen Borrowers. Because this can deal with like any hate card in coming out immediately. Oh, Bonecrusher doesn't pitch the Force. That's a good point. It doesn't pitch the Force. You do have the 4 Force Negation. There really isn't that much I can criticize. Except that this is one of your clunkier cards. Because it's like a blue and a generic. But I mean, it's fine. It will work. It will work. Brazen Borrower, 4 Fairy Macabre, Ingot Chewer, Mystical Dispute, Nimble Obstructionist. Honestly, it's just solid deck. Solid deck. I have nothing else to say. I would just probably put the fourth I'd put the 4th Brazen Borrower in the main deck, given that I think all the other Living End decks are doing it. And probably because it is like just the interactive spell. Like it's the best interactive spell that can, I guess, also pitch to Force of Negation. So there are going to be games where you need to slow your opponent down before you can like combo off. And there's also going to be games where your opponent's going to put some hate card from their main deck on the battlefield. And then you still have to, like, for example, let's say you're up against Eldrazi and they play Chalice on 0 immediately. Well, you're like, well, shit, where's my Brazen Borrowers? And you're going to want that extra Brazen Borrower in your deck. So probably I would just put this to 4, take out a Waker of Waves. And then maybe, I don't know, put 4 Mystical Disputes. That's about it. I mean, but this deck is pretty solid. If they could get top 8, Uber Jam, I'm sure you can get top 8. I think this is sort of an open and shut case. How about this mana base? One Island, Misty Rainforest, Scalding Tarn. This is where I will definitely defer to these lists. Breeding Pool, Flooded Strand. Interesting, they have a very different mana base. They have a lot of fetch lands. Misty Rainforest. No, you have a lot of fetch lands too. Good enough. All right, people. That's it for Decklist review. That is it for Coffee and MTG this week. If you want to see the replay, don't forget, go check out Nikachu MTG streams for all your great Merfolk gameplay and Coffee and MTG replay needs. If I did not get your comments, questions, or Decklist, don't worry. We do this Monday to Friday from 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. If you'd love to support the channel, particularly Coffee and MTG, and you don't already, you could drop a sub at twitch.tv. You could become a patron at patreon.com, or you could hit the join button on YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this morning. One more deck. We're going to review more decks next week. We review decks all the damn time. So thank you very much for joining me this morning. It was a great conversation. We had some fun, and hopefully there'll be some exciting news to talk about next week. So keep brewing up those coffees, and we'll keep brewing up magic. See you guys next time.